Hello everyone. This is a new video where I have got a guest this time. Usually I shoot myself alone, but that is also quite new to say because I've only shot two videos and one of them has been put down by YouTube because of copyright issues. But I think this video is going to be extremely important because we will discuss about the various central universities that are here across India, and this guy has covered them all mostly.
A few.
A few,
Yeah.
mostly, you'll know in due course. He'll introduce himself, and before we start, I think it is extremely important for all the people who are planning to do a post graduation, and the CUET exams are coming. Maybe it's on the 16th of March,
Okay.
so maybe a week post this video gets posted. So it's very important because when I was trying to get information regarding various central universities a few months back, I could hardly find any. So for literature scholars, for students of literature, it's very hard to get content because we are very aristocratic and we think YouTube is a platform that is not for scholarly people. But I think it's time that we speak more about literature and the universities, the faculties, and the research scope that is here in the Indian academia. But before we start, my professor, Dr. Gargi Tolapatro, has taught me that it's always good to appreciate good deeds by giving chocolates. So I have brought one for you.
That's good. Thank you so much, I guess.
All right, you introduce yourself.
So, I'm Saklin Barua. So, I'm doing my PhD here in Northeastern Hill University, Shillong. And I'm working on my dissertation right now. It's on interactive fiction and cybertext. So, that's it, I guess.
No, that is one bit of it.
What are
Where
just
have
one
you
bit of
done
it.
your bachelor's, master's, MPhil?
So, my bachelor's I've done in Delhi College of Arts and Commerce, DU, and my master's was in Hyderabad. My MPhil, and I enrolled in Jadavpur University.
So I told you he has got most of them covered. We aspire to be in DU, we aspire to be in HCU, we aspire to be in Jadavpur. Me being from Kolkata, I have not got into Jadavpur. I'm studying at the English and Foreign Languages University, Regional Campus Shillong. I couldn't get into Jadavpur, but this guy being from Assam has been to Delhi, been to Hyderabad, been to Jadavpur, and he has come back to the Northeast just to, cover it all. All right, we'll start from your days at DU.
Yeah.
Why did you leave Assam? Acha, before we start with the entire thing, I have planned two questions that I'll ask all
Sure.
the guests
Sure.
who come over on my channel. Why, of all disciplines, did you choose literature as your way of interacting with the society?
Like most literature students, I'd imagine, it started from my habit of reading books. Like from as a child growing up, you would read fiction. Sometimes, you would read non-fiction. You'll be fascinated by it, and you'd want to read more. And that's where the inkling came that I wanted to study literature. Right.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I decided. I decided very early that I'll do English literature. Well, to my parents' chagrin, but yeah. So they were eventually okay with it. So I did.
Yeah, that's actually, it might sound simple, but that's honest.
Yeah.
Most of the people bullshit a lot when they read. They think they know the world and the secrets of the universe, so they can just rant and bullshit about it. But it actually starts from a pleasure that comes from reading. Maybe that's where it all begins for scholars of literature or students of literature. The second question would be, um, maybe a lot of students who are watching this are in their last semester of bachelor's, or maybe in somewhere in between, in some semester or the other in bachelor's. What do you think is literature's contribution in regulating, developing, or perhaps sustaining the framework of the society? Has it got any contribution politically, socially, culturally? What is it? I'm sure there are many, but what is your view that which you prioritize?
Well, as has been stated by a lot of English literature thinkers, literature is a reflection of society in a lot of ways. But personally, I feel like it reflects the thought of society as a whole. The way a society tends to think, or the intellectuals of a society, what they come up with, their inclinations. It is expressed in literature, and a lot of innovative thought can be attributed to literature. Not always, though. Like people in STEM fields would disagree, but a lot of the ideation I feel comes from a literary place.
That is a very prominent reason, I believe. Okay, we'll start with your DU days,
Okay.
Delhi days. It was
Delhi
not
days.
as polluted as it is now, was it?
Well, it almost was. Right, not much of a difference.
The AQIs were not making headlines then, maybe.
It it was, but it wasn't over 1,000
Right.
back then.
So, how was it? Which exact college were you in
I
under Delhi
was
University?
in Delhi College of Arts and Commerce,
Okay.
DCAC, as the students call it. But yeah, back then the admission process was different. I believe nowadays you have to write the CUET to get in, the UG CUET. Back then we had to rely on our grades from our 12 boards, and cutoffs were quite high. I remember in our year, so yeah, I got to. Initially, I took admission in Motilal Nehru University, but Delhi University really keeps releasing cutoffs where students drop out and you get in, you get to fill in their place, right? So eventually, I got into DCAC. Yeah.
Right. But why did you leave Assam at the first place?
Assam,
And why do you?
why DU? Well, obviously, me being from a somewhat academic household, uh, DU had a reputation, right? So that reputation, well, no, the impression of that reputation on me, that resulted in an impulse to go outside of Guwahati to see what that magnificent university that everybody keeps talking about, and to see it. That's what I attempted to do. That was my goal from the start, to get into DU. Not perhaps not DCSE specifically. I wanted to get into some other college, like most people do, but yeah, I ended up there.
Okay. Before further questions, I'll just like to tell you guys that we are in Shillong. We are shooting inside the campus of the Northeastern Hill University. And the pleasure of this place is the wildflowers, the winds, and the view of the mountains. So this is exotic, but it is also a tad bit disturbing for content creators because winds do give us a visit once in a while. So you may get a slight jitter in the sound quality, but I think if we get love on this channel, me and Saklin would come again to speak on academia once more in future. Okay, but was Delhi worth it? Means you went there with a certain image in mind
Yeah.
of Delhi University. Was it worth it? And what do you think is the current scenario of Delhi University?
So I haven't been to visit DU in a while, but from what I understand, it's still a massive department, and one impression that people have is it's a bit of a monolith. People out who are not in the know, right? Well, it's not the case, especially for the BA level. DU is just consists of a lot of colleges affiliated to DU, a lot of which are very good, some of which are not as good maybe. So you have to pick your colleges, right? So if you are getting into a better regional college, it may be a better decision to stay there, right? Instead of going to maybe a third tier DU college, right? If you get into a great DU college, there's no issue. You can shift there. That's not a big deal to you if you're not struggling financially, because Delhi is an expensive place as well. Not as expensive as other metros in the country maybe, but still expensive for a lot of students, right? So that's what I think. Um, Other than that, the educational experience, the academic experience there, the professors mostly will be good, right? The top talent from the entire country, but the departments and the colleges themselves, all government institutions, they are all lacking in one way or the other, except for the maybe few top colleges, right? When you're talking about your Hindus, your St. Stephen's, so you're not
But the fees there is also quite high at Stephens or other places.
on higher than the average government college, but not quite a bit higher. I remember, maybe it's changed since then. My yearly fees used to be 6-7k,
6-7K.
6-7k. So
So 3.5K ish per
per
semester.
semester. The other big issue in DU is the lack of hostels. The number of students that are enrolled, the number of hostels pales in comparison to that. So you're not going to get into a hostel unless you're in one of the best colleges with a really good grade, because they do a ranking list and they allot hostels. They at least used to do that. Used to allot the hostels according to your rank. So it's very difficult to get into a hostel in a DU college if your college has hostels, or which a lot of them don't.
Right. Uh, I have heard in the past that many of the students go out of their hometowns to Delhi or Hyderabad in search of exposure in academia. So, during your stay in Delhi, um, were you part of conferences, seminars? Were you encouraged to write papers, present them? Means, was there this encouragement? Before he answers this, I'll just tell one thing. I have done my bachelor's in a college called Bhawanipur, the Bhawanipur. They add the in the name itself. So you have to capitalize T also.
Okay.
So the Bhawanipur Education Society College under University of Calcutta. There in our college specifically, there was this norm because of the professors, the brilliant professors that we had. Um, they organized student seminars, and we were part of quite a few of them. I myself was a part of 3. My friends were a part of 4 or 5. But in CU specifically, or in Kolkata also, Kolkata being a metropolitan, during the bachelor's years, it is not quite encouraged to write. People are still slightly rigid about their sense of academics. So they do not really encourage you to write and present in other places, because they'll always ask you to read up for years before starting to write. But was it different in you? Was there this encouragement that you can write at the same time simultaneously while you read? Was this encouragement? Were you part of seminars, conferences, and things like this?
Personally, I was part of a few, far less than I would have liked to do, but usually departments themselves do not encourage going to. When I say do not encourage, I do not mean they dissuade you in any way. What they don't really encourage you to do, and they're kind of indifferent to it. Certain professors, if you get close to them, who are prolific in their work, will encourage you to do so, especially if you have put in the work in class, and they will notice it. So you need to cozy up to these people and get the information for yourself. So it's a very individualistic type of academic struggle, I guess, there, because you're alone. You have to make things work there. So the information you gather and then you apply. Generally, the college will support you. The departments will support you if you go to them with a conference or a idea. They will offer support, but you have to come up with it on your own. In my experience, at least in my college, that was the case. But the professors were always very helpful.
Okay. For somebody who's planning to go to DU for his or her PG, for,
PG. Hmm.
would you suggest, recommend DU now?
Okay. So DU still remains one of the largest universities, right? I think their intake is almost 300 students. MA intake is almost 300 students, with half of them being North Campus and the other half being South. Um, I would say so. The department is massive. The professors are stellar, right? I'm pretty sure they have about 40 professors there, and a lot of them are really highly qualified, and a lot of them are good teachers as well. Uh, a lot of stuff is on you, or it's based on your decisions. If you show up to class and you put in the hard work, you'll get places. In my opinion, not that I did it personally, but yeah, people have done it. I've seen it, and no, you can do it, but you have to be focused. There is no spoon feeding there, so it's on you.
Did you make connections with the professors? Like, one of the major reasons for me coming to the Northeast in the English and Foreign Languages University was the intake was less and the professors were adequate. So I felt I would be able to actually knock relationships with professors, so that, and actually get some amount of help from them in getting published, in getting a better understanding of theory, and a comprehensive image of the academia. Did you make relationships while you stay in DU?
Yeah, personally speaking, the senior professors always were very intimidating, as they tend to be. but
The same everywhere.
yeah, it's the same everywhere. So, but in DO, a lot of the professors will be adjunct faculty. There will be ad hoc teachers. So those people are easier to approach, and they'll also be recent PhD scholars or recently submitted their thesis, and they'll be more in tune with what you need as a student, right? A lot of professors, if I might be a bit harsh, they might be slightly out of touch with what average student needs, right, in their bachelor's program. The newer faculties, the temporary faculties, I had a closer connection with personally. Yeah,
And they are helpful.
they're very helpful, usually.
The last question that I have regarding the last two questions, I'm trying to make cater to all the questions that I collected from my friends from my juniors in the last 3-4 days. We were supposed to do it far back, but this guy was busy. He went back home, then I went back home. So I have had a lot of time to think about questions. Last two, one being, see, here in the Northeast, uh, conferences are actually less. And if you have to actually attend conferences, meet people, network with people, I understand LinkedIn is there, there's social network, all that's fine. But actually meeting someone in person, meeting people in multiple conferences, uh, in places like Delhi or Hyderabad, because conferences, there are a lot of conferences do take place, a lot of universities are there. It's easy to travel, it's easy to actually roam around and attend all of the conferences, if not participating. It's very difficult to do that here in the Northeast. So, was that an advantage that you could actually network with a lot of professors, you could actually network with a lot of scholars who were currently doing their PhDs in Delhi, in some university in Delhi?
In Delhi, personally, I didn't indulge in that too much. So there was a bit of networking going around, but not so much with. We didn't have a lot of connection with the research scholars, right? So our conversations, interactions with the professors was more what made it that way. So I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And the final question would be, you said hostels are hard to get.
There.
So, what's the living cost like for an average Indian student?
So keep in mind, my information will be a bit out of date. I haven't stayed in Delhi for a bit. Um, there are two prime locations, right? So in the north campus, there are a few locations such as GTP Nagar and all those areas, the area surrounding it. South is Satyaniketan. So
Satyaniketan.
Satyaniketan, which corresponds to the north and south campus. These are the residential places near those campuses. So those places are extremely expensive. If you want to stay near the colleges, near the university campuses, those places will be very expensive. One BHK apartment will cost you upwards of 15-20,000, right, per month. I mean, yeah, so it's quite expensive. Back when I stayed in Satyaniketan, it was I stayed opposite to Venkateshwara College, one of the better colleges there. So our rent for a 1+1, not even a 1 BHK, 1+1 was 16K per month, which was quite expensive. So you get used to roommates essentially.
And this is the accommodation with food, without food.
Without food, that's just the apartment, 2 rooms.
You won't believe I stay at the FLU hostel for 435 rupees per semester. So, if you're choosing Delhi, I am in a better position than you are in,
Yeah.
because I do not have to spend so much on my stay here. How much do you pay for the hostel?
Nehu. In Nehu, our yearly hostel fees is around 5k,
Yearly is 5K, so it's per semester 2.5K.
2.5k per sem, and plus whatever mess fees you incur, right? Yeah, that's it.
So for us, the mess fees is somewhere around 3,000 per month. I think it is okay. So with the stay here and the food, you hardly have to pay 3,500. And for guys, it's extremely good because the hostel is inside the campus. So it's not even a 2 minutes walk. So you can be late, but you are never late because it's too close. So yeah, that was all about Delhi University from Saklane. We have planned something because Nehu campus is quite large and there are quite a few aesthetic locations that we can shoot our video at. So we'll just change the location so that it's not tedious to your eye. So we'll be back with HCU
Yeah, sure.
for your masters.
Yeah, sure.
So yes, we have changed the location. We have come to a new place. This is actually, I'll just share a behind the scene. We did it just before we started shooting this part. We actually shot the entire clip for University of Hyderabad and his years there. But me being slightly tech retarded, I tried using a tripod that runs on Bluetooth, and I tapped it twice, so it only shot a second's video, and he spoke for some 15-20 minutes. So you can clearly see an image of frustration on both of our faces, but I think we are doing it for a good purpose. And today is also a good day because today is India and New Zealand's final.
Yeah.
So he's in a hurry. I'm just trying to just keep him with me so that we can just finish the video by today, because next week there's the CUET exam for literature students. So we are more than willing to do it today. So we are putting in some hard work. I think there should be some sort of appreciation from your end as well because we are doing it. Nonetheless, we'll just discuss about the setting that we are in. It's the Living Root Pavilion. These are the advantages that you get when you are in the Northeast. There's a lot of nature around you, and this is actually a living pavilion, and it will have its full-fledged form in 2047. So it's actually quite nice. It's beside a place which is called James Pond, which a lot of people actually mispronounce as James Bond. And so we are here. So we'll start with his. Now I think he would be much more clear regarding what to speak because he has already spoken it once. You know, this thing used to happen in our years in bachelors. There used to be two sections, D1 and D2, at the Bhawanipur College, and the professors would give one lecture in D1, and in the very next period they'll give the same lecture in D2. So actually, I'm just training you for your future
That's what it is.
life
yeah.
as a professor. So my first question would be: University of Hyderabad is a fascinating place, and with scholars who are perhaps the best in the country. Whether
Some of the
it's
best.
some of perhaps the best in the country and the most acclaimed scholars. Uh, all of us know about Pramod K. Nair for his prolific contribution in cultural studies, in literature at large. You have attended his classes.
I have. Yeah.
How was he up front?
He's very professional. Um, his classes are very laser focused, right? So he will come in immensely prepared for a certain topic, and it's not like he'll be speaking for 40 minutes or an hour straight. They are very discussion based, so the conclusions that are drawn will not be presented by the sir himself, or what will happen is he will present us with certain ideas, and we generally have a discussion over it, after which a certain conclusion is reached, which in my mind is a very to my mind is a very effective way to teach, right? So you're not lecturing for an hour straight. I appreciate those classes a lot, and yeah, he was a good teacher.
Right.
I'd say, yeah, excellent teacher.
And see, there's a transit from bachelor's to the master's. In master's, people have a lot of things in mind. In bachelor's, people are much more carefree and they are just starting out, they're knowing the basics. But in master's, a couple of things actually come into mind. First is one has to clear net
Yeah.
in order to get any land with any sort of job in academics. Second is one has to get a dissertation ready for, and a plan for future if he or she is willing to do a PhD. And then there is another thing that one has to get published. One has to earnestly try to attend conferences, make some network, and get published. Make a CV that okay, I'm ready for a PhD. How much of it is enhanced or facilitated by the University of Hyderabad?
The department itself is very academically oriented, right? The focus is always on researching new ideas, looking for publications, and the students benefit from that a lot. I remember during our time, Nair sir was the HOD, and he would routinely email the class group about certain conferences that kept coming up. Yeah, he would email us about these opportunities for publishing or seminars that we should attend or conferences that we should present at, and those things were made available to us through that. And certain students took advantage of that to a great extent and did good things. They got published, they went to conferences. So yeah, I would say it is a good place to do that.
Right. And how are the professors, like the interactions with the professors? Because they're some of them I was talking to him about, like Nair is obviously there, and with his current publications, whether it's on eco precarity or in the Indian graphic novel, he's publishing very prolific works. But there's also this another guy who runs this department called CISD, if I'm not wrong, which is the Center for Indian Studies of Diaspora. It is run by Ajay K. Sahu, who is interestingly the editor for the Routledge Journal for South Asian Diaspora. So, somebody who is actually editing a Scopus publication and is also taking one's classes. So, it's like brilliant. I think there's no better medium from which you can actually gain knowledge. So, how is it exactly in the classroom setting with the other professors? Are they actually interacting with students very personally, or is there a professional detachment and they do not really form relationship with students?
The relationship that is formed is mainly academic, but it is I would consider it to be effective.
Right.
So now obviously I'm generalizing here. Each professor is different, but amongst the teachers that I enjoyed classes with, Professor Kurian, Professor Nair, and Professor Satpati. I have not taken a class with him, but I heard he's pretty good as well. Uh, those classes are interactive, are engaging, and are quite illuminating. Right?
Okay.
So even for people who know about subjects, these are specialists, right? So you always get to know more. So I don't think there needs to be a personal connection always in these situations. So generally there isn't one, but that's in my case. Maybe some of you will form personal connections with these professors, but generally it's quite professional.
Right. Acha, I had this thing in mind that because the professors are actively publishing right now, some of them are Scopus publication editors, and some of them are writing prolifically. They're actually coming up with new concepts. People like Pramod K. Nair are coming up with new concepts in the eco-critical field and everywhere. So, how's the syllabus like? Is it different from what is actually taught at universities like Delhi University, Calcutta University? Is it different? Is it updated every now and then? How is the syllabus like?
From what I've seen, the syllabus is quite dynamic. They change it year to year, not maybe comprehensively, but tweaks are made. Newer courses are always added in. In our year, we added the new literatures course, which was literatures away from the Anglosphere.
Okay.
So that was quite interesting. It was taken by our stalwart professor, K. Narayan Chandran. So I think he's retired now. He won't be there for you guys, but yeah, I'd say the syllabus is quite. It's not a rigid thing. It's a living being. It's evolving. How it's different from DU is DU the syllabus was more period focused. You would study literature from a certain time period in one paper, and the next time period in the next paper. That's how it worked usually.
Right, right.
So that's not like that. That's not like. That's not the approach in Hyderabad. What they do is they select certain approaches to literature, certain uh, structures in writing, and they focus on that instead. That's how you progress with your semester papers. Usually,
Right.
the first year is a retrospective. Generally, it's a refresher kind of for your BA, whatever you learned in your BA. And the second year, there's a hard turn towards theory and cultural theory as well, which a lot of our professors did specialize in, which was very interesting. And I think that's quite fun and beneficial for your academic career as well, because for a modern literature student, theory is a must, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So the focus is on theory because I was telling him that in my bachelor years, when I was doing my BA in CU in a college under University of Calcutta, uh, theory was not prioritized. Criticism was to a certain extent. Even here at FLU Regional Campus Shillong, criticism is prioritized, but theory is not taught. It is almost taken as a given that you are going to read it. We are not going to teach it. So, how was the approach different? Was theory taught in classes?
It was definitely taught. Yeah, we had an entire paper on theory, and there was another optional paper on theory as well, completely not devoid of any literature, right?
Right.
So it's completely based on theory. There were two papers in our second year. One was optional, obviously, but yeah, if you want to learn theory, those papers did specialize and they would teach you, and the professors were not scared of taking it head on. They would teach you. Mm. With will obviously different professors will take different approaches, but generally the senior professors did a really good job of teaching us theory.
How was the dissertation? There was a dissertation, I'm sure, in the last semester.
Not for us.
Not
so,
for you.
Yeah.
Is it there now?
I spoke to a certain MA student who passed out 2 years ago. They said it got implemented for their junior batch, so it should be there now.
So, actually, with HCU, I always have been fascinated about HCU because I've heard about the scholars there, the professors there, the department, the research scope that they provide, and the very living aspect of the department. It's not dead. It's not rigid. It's not like an ancient elephant who's unable to move. It's lively. It's dynamic. It's ever changing. So, how was HCU
Okay.
in your masters when you directly compare it with DU, where you were in your bachelor's? How different is HCU from DU setting wise? Like, how was the place, the location? How was the campus? And how was the academics different, the approach of academics different between the two institutions?
Okay. First of all, the location, like couldn't be a bigger gap, right? From DU's 1100 AQA from time to time to the almost forested areas of Hyderabad. It's a very nice place to live in. It's 2,500 acres, square acres, I guess. Not square acres, acres, I guess. Yeah,
Square
so
acre.
acres are square. But yes, so it's it's a great place to live in. No comparison to Delhi, no shade, but Delhi is not a great place to live in.
Were you into comparing AQIs then? अच्छा मैं भी ज़्यादा देर बचूंगा मतलब.
Yeah. So you're less likely to develop respiratory diseases in Hyderabad. Yeah, but yeah. So overall, it's a better place to live in. In Delhi, you're living in the middle of the city. Generally, you won't get into a hostel. You have to live in an apartment.
How's
all
the
that.
accommodation cost in Hyderabad?
It's a for a government institution, it's quite decent. We paid 5.5 a semester for the hostel accommodation, and 7K a year for the university fees, tuition, and everything. So, which is very decent, along with mess costs, which will amount to 2K a month or a bit more.
It's quite affordable.
Quite affordable.
So the tuition fees for 2 years is like 28,000, and per semester the hostel fees was 3,000 or 5,000.
5,000
So it's like yearly 10,000.
yearly 10,000.
So under 50,000, you are getting a master's degree from one of the perhaps the best after JNU, perhaps the best institution that is there in India.
Probably.
Did you ever make a comparison between JNU and HCU while you stay there? Was there this discourse on this?
Not really. I am not aware of any competition that exists between JNU and HCU. A lot of people will say JNU is better. I'm not sure about it because I'm not particularly well informed in that regard. Doesn't make sense to me to compare, but yeah, maybe at least they're comparable. I don't know. So you are asked for a comparison, right? Okay, between Delhi. Like I said, in Delhi, it's a very individual thing, right? Studying, and obviously you're a bachelor's student there. I was a bachelor's student there, and going from a from a bachelor's to a master's degree is quite a jump. Especially in Hyderabad, they expect a lot of good things from you. They expect you, the standards are a bit, the average standards are better.
Yeah.
And all the students will be good, right? Since I don't know how the thing is right now with the CUET and all that, but in my day, the quality of students was really high. So the competition was good, and those who were the toppers, they actually deserved it. They're really hardworking, very brilliant people.
And what was the batch size at HCU?
The intake was around 50, not quite 50, around
Around
40,
50.
45, 46 people.
Acha, I wanted to ask this because um, one of the reasons why I came out of Kolkata, I'll just tell you two reasons, and I want your view on it with regards to HCU. One is the socio-political scenario in Kolkata is not quite appropriate right now. It is not in a state where it will facilitate academics, especially literature, where critical thinking, new thought, reformulative thought, thoughts that are towards that will take people towards protestation. These things are not really enhanced in the academics that currently is active in Kolkata. So how's that different in HCU? That's first question. How's the I'm trying to understand the political atmosphere of the campus, whether it facilitates new thought, reformulative thought, rather than repetitive thought that is majorly practiced across the country. And the second reason being the research scope for PhD. You know, when you are in CU, to land up with a PhD is very difficult. Even for other universities like Jadavpur or Presidency, to land up with a PhD is very difficult because they do not provide PhD quite regularly, and moreover, the politics is also involved. So, how's the research scope, the PhD structure at HCU, and the political atmosphere of the campus?
Okay. So first of all, HCU is a very political place. There are various political parties, all vying for the student union positions. But if you choose to, you can ignore all of that. You can stay in your room, you can study. It's not a big deal. It's not going to affect your academics. The department is not going to close down on short of any major occasion. One time it did happen was the Rohit Vemula incident, but I don't think that's a very regular occurrence. That's not going to happen every day. So it's a good, safe space to study. You're not going to get distracted if you don't want to. If you are into politics, you can get into that as well. So that's not going to be an issue. And as for the PhD, I wasn't a PhD scholar there, so I'm slightly light on the details. But the intake is usually around 4 students a year, and getting into any PhDs now is a difficult proposition, right? It's not
Especially
easy
in
anyway.
humanities.
Especially in the humanities. The departments are getting smaller, the intake sizes are getting smaller. Even in JNU, they cut it like 1/3 at one point when we got out of our MAs. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult to get into HCU as well, but I don't think those things are quite there, that there'll be favoritism or anything. I don't think that those things exist, because in our batch only one guy got into the PhD program from our
Right.
batch. So it doesn't mean that if you're not qualified you will not get in.
Or you are not from HCU, then you'll not get it.
yeah, then
Even
not-
the outsiders were the majority was from outside.
Yeah, the majority was from outside or even from older batches maybe.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be a fresh MA graduate or whatever the case may be.
To land up with a PhD.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that the aspiring PG students need to hear about HCU before they actually try to get admitted there?
Aside from the academics, I'd say it's a great place to live in. It's a very lively campus. It's residential entirely. So all of the students will be there. If you are into any extracurricular activities, chances are that you will be part of something. So there's plenty of stuff to distract you from your studies as well when you're not actively working, right? So that helps. It's a massive campus. You can do what you want.
I understand. He spoke this entire thing for the second time. So I have been hard on him. I am sure one chocolate is not adequate, so I'll get him a few more. But thank you for saying this entire thing for the second time. I'm sure the audience would be appreciative of what you spoke. We'll now move to the last part of the video which we'll shoot in a different location altogether. But before we move, I'll just try to say that because I gave my CUET last year, with DU there is a preference list. So we forgot to mention this. You choose your preference very wisely. You actually put the good colleges on the top, then fill. Actually, you should be filling all the preferences, but ideally the top 3 or 4 should be the best colleges that you wish to go to. But do not just leave the preferences blank, because uh, if you wish to go to DU, you are at the end of the day you are getting a certificate from Delhi University itself.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you are doing it. If you are going for the certificate, do not leave any preference list blank. Just fill all of it and then see where you get. Is there a specific college that you would recommend under DU apart from Stephens? That is there.
St. Stephen's, I would say any of the North Campus colleges are pretty good. Right. If you're looking for decent education, you'll get it there. Right. So, Hindus obviously are another good one. And for the women out there, LSR is really good. So that's technically a South Campus or off-campus college. But yeah, those colleges are really good.
All right, then we'll move to the last part of the video. Chalo. All right, so here we begin with the last segment of the video, and here at the Nehu post office. I think it is extremely aristocratic a place. We do not really get to see such post boxes now, and this post office is actually quite active. So anything a student or a professor needs to, or a staff member needs to send outside or they need to receive, this is the place. Amazon, Flipkart, these things are there, but they're not quite accessible because delivery points are a bit wobbly here. But post office is really functioning good. So even if you want to write letters from Nehu, they'll post it for you. I have planned of sending a few letters to few letters and postcards to my friends from here, because they can't do it and I can. So it's a form of bragging in an indirect sense. All right, we'll speak about his experience at Jadavpur during his MPhil. What
Yeah.
did you do your MPhil on?
My MPhil was on very specific regional poetry, Assamese regional poetry. I will not go into too much depth on that right now, but yes, it was very focused.
And how was it at Jadavpur?
Jadavpur,
Is it difficult? Like MPhils are discontinued now, but
Yeah.
while you were in Jadavpur, was it difficult to get into Jadavpur? Was it extremely competitive?
it was competitive. I remember usually the MPhil the applications would come out a month or two before the PhD applications, and most people would fill in both. So there's a lot of competition there. So what they usually would do is invite most of these students for an interview, which was conducted online back then because it was during COVID, the height of COVID more or less.
Which year was this? 2020 or 21?
20.
20.
So back in 2020, late 2020. So that was more or less the height of COVID. They conducted interviews for all the students. I, from what I understand, they conduct in-person interviews now since all those restrictions have long gone. So yeah, that's the interview process, and the admission process after that is very simple. You just get selected, and then you're called for a document verification, and you're done.
Right.
Yeah, but it's quite difficult to get in. A lot of my friends did apply, both programs, the MPhil and the PhD.
Why after Hyderabad you chose to go to Kolkata? Means Hyderabad, I'm sure back in the day they were also providing or offering MPhils. So why did you choose to go to Kolkata?
um, Jadavpur is one of the other departments that I wanted to see firsthand. One of the better English departments in the country. So that's why I applied to Jadavpur, and that was before our PhD applications came on. So we got our results very late due to COVID. So we had to wait a few months until we could apply for PhDs in Hyderabad. So we ended up applying to Jadavpur instead.
Right. And how was your experience at Jadavpur? I understand it was COVID and
Yeah.
your stay in the city was limited, but still, how was it? How were the faculty members? How was your supervisor? And how was it?
The department, it is welcoming from my experience. The I can talk about mostly about the coursework because that's where most of the interaction took place since it was COVID. Um, the coursework was great. Different professors were assigned to. We had three papers. multiple professors were assigned to each paper, and yeah, the lectures were really good. They even had outside members, professors from outside the university come in and deliver specialists in their fields to come and deliver certain specific lectures as well, which was very nice. So yeah, it was a great experience.
How, like, you have been in DU, then HCU. I have, if I at all have to compare between the department at HCU, because that is also very thriving a department, and with Jadavpur, I think during the time where you were there, I think Shukarna ma'am was also there.
Yeah, I think so.
She was also there, and her husband was also there, I think. So it was the Jadavpur University Department of English, the JUDE, popularly known as JUDE.
Jude.
So the pillars of the department were there
Yeah,
when
they were,
in
yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
So how was the department? Was it thriving? Was it actively organizing conferences or anything?
They were organizing a few conferences, but they were really hampered by the entire COVID thing. So we had two conferences while in my during my stay there. So both of those were conducted online.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So and the other department that was close by was also very active, the comparative literature department, which is also very good from what I've
They
heard.
also have a very good journal.
Yeah. So even they conducted a few conferences and stuff. So no, both of these departments, and I think they are a bit more active than the English department in this regard. But maybe that's not the
The
case.
comparative literature
The
department.
comparative literature department. It's one of the oldest departments as well, I guess. Yeah. So my friend was there, so we talked a lot about that. So yeah, very interesting experience overall.
Actually, because I'm from the city, so I can speak for it that Kolkata has some kind of symphony in its chaos. So if one has to at all be in Bengali khapa, which means whimsical, erratic,
Okay.
one can be in the city and actually study in Jadavpur. Just that the politics there it's is slightly rigorous. There have been a few um, cases lately at the boys' hostel. Death of a maybe UG candidate or a PG candidate. So there were things there that happened in Jadavpur, and currently there's also a very active political protest that is going on at Jadavpur with the ruling party in the state. So our solidarity is with them, but I think for people who are aspiring to be in the university, they should know the odds and the pros altogether. Because if you're not active with communication and the politics is there and it's vehement on you, it is going to hamper your academics. And if you're coming from another state, it is even more rigorous. From the city, your parents are there, somehow you will be saved. But if you're coming from another state, another city, and you have no connections in the city, there can be a few troubles here and there. But if you can manage your way through, I think it is Jadavpur is one of the finest. I even heard there was a time that they were coming up with a journal and they approached Haruki Murakami to write something for them. But Haruki Murakami also has his whims, so he didn't. But Jadavpur has got its connections. Though some of the most well-known professors are now gone. Some of them have retired. One of them committed suicide, and some of them just left and they joined some other place. So that is there. But interestingly, the very famous writer Amitabh Ghosh's writings were translated by the professor of Jadavpur University. And whenever Ghosh has got any book coming up, actually a professor from Jadavpur, Shukon Nadi, would actually interview him. So that is also there. So in the last part of the video, I'll just try to add that how's your experience at Nehu going? Because you have just started out your PhD, you're doing your coursework. How's it going?
New department.
And
Yeah.
why Nehu? Why Nehu after HCU, DU, JU? Why did you choose to come to Nehu to do your PhD?
PhD, yeah. Well, well, it's coming back to square one, I guess. A bit. I stay in Guwahati, which is very close by.
Right.
My parents would really like me to be around a bit more. So since I've been not been there for a while, so I decided to pursue it here. So and the department's good. Some of the professors here, I've read in my bachelor's. Professor Kimpam Nongkinri and
Even Temsula Ao was here.
Tonsila was here. Even Robin Nangam sir was here, but unfortunately I missed Nangam. We meet him in the department from time to time, but he doesn't teach us anymore.
Yeah.
Very good department.
Right.
Very creative department.
Creative department.
They always publishing books.
We were speaking about Professor Kinfam while we were walking to this place. Kinfam Singh Nonkinri has got some beautiful, beautiful books. His book Funeral Nights is actually compared with Moby Dick, and it is said one of the finest epics written in the Orient in the recent years. So that is also there. So have you attended Kinfam's classes?
I have, but as part of our coursework. But yes.
How is he? Is he a poet more than a professor?
He is a poet, true and true, and his classes are very interesting, very different from other professors. I really enjoy his classes, and interpretations of poetry, we'll get a unique perspective from him, which is very nice. And his recollections, he has certain anecdotes with other poets, and he'll give you a perspective of those poets, of those writers that you'll never find anywhere else. So it's very.
Was it difficult to get a PhD in Nehu?
So PhDs everywhere, difficult now to get. So we had over 100 applicants when I applied. This year we had over 90. So
And how many did they accept?
6.
6 out of 90.
Yeah. So it is difficult to get a PhD anywhere. So
So the acceptance rate is somewhere around 6%.
6%.
5.56%.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that they need to know about Nehu? Nehu, the Department of English at Nehu? If they're at all willing to pursue their post-graduation at Nehu,
Yeah.
is there something that they need to know and you can provide them with?
Yeah. The MA master's degree in Nehu is also you can get in through the CUET, and same professors will take those classes as well. And the campus itself is beautiful. Yeah, as you've been seeing so far throughout the video. So if you want to be around nature while reading literature, studying literature, it's a great place to be.
So many people might have this confusion. Why am I not speaking about my institution, the English and Foreign Languages University? I have actually planned another video which I'll be posting next week with students from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, and Calcutta University. I'm trying to get people from Jadavpur, Presidency, and because I have studied at Bhawanipur College and here at FLU, people from Banaras Hindu University, I'm trying to actually make videos with students and scholars all across the country so that there's this dearth of content in the space of literature, because I was searching for it when I actually wanted information and I didn't really get much. So I'm trying to gather information as much as possible for you guys who are appearing for CUET this time and who are willing to go out of their cities and out of their states to pursue academics elsewhere. So I think today's video we can draw to a conclusion that we have covered most of his life. Apart from the people he loved and the people he didn't love, we have covered it all.
Yeah, that covers it. Yeah, just fine. Yeah.
Thank you, Sakrin, for doing this, and especially for actually speaking of HCU twice. That shows how much you love the institution.
Well, I do. That's no lie. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was great. I'm sure you guys enjoyed him talking. He was quite nice through the video. He has been kind to me. The Champions Trophy final is going on. New Zealand is batting, and the last score we checked was 3 overs and 21 runs New Zealand had scored. And he has not checked the score yet again. So,
Well, I'm itching too, but I'm holding on. Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
And thanks guys for watching this, and I do not really want you guys to subscribe, but I'm just asking if you ever need any content regarding literature and you wish to search for it on YouTube, just search for my channel and find it. You do not have to subscribe and get everything that I post. So till then,
That's a very reasonable thing he's asking for though. Great.
see you in the next video.
Yeah.
Thank you.